So recently I went and took a trip with some friends, and it's one of those things, traveling with friends, where you have so much history going in, but you're also making new history and new memories as you're going along. And so we all take naps because, once you're at a certain age, it's like, oh, yeah, I have all this free time. You know what I want to do? I want to use some of it resting because I didn't rest enough last night. After resting, I look over to my friend, and he's just standing there, covered in blood, covered in wounds. And I'm like, what happened? He's like, nothing. And I'm like, nothing? He's like, yeah. It's a show about nothing.
Luke. Luke,
Yeah.
which I am assuming is short for Lucario. What did you just do a Seinfeld cold open?
Yes, thank you to our listener Wombat who said I should have set up a nothing happens in the next episode bit in the previous episode, but I kind of forgot about that. And then I was like, oh, it would be a really good joke. That.
Yeah, whew, that took me out for a second because I wanted to start talking, but then it was like I can't interrupt this. It's got to play out, like the entire intro's got to play out as it would if you was watching this on a television.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we've talked about how I've gotten into some Seinfeldian situations, but this isn't Seinfeldian Situations, the podcast that Janine and I will do when I'm making $500 a month on Patreon. This is DohMance Dawn, the podcast where we talk about The Simpsons and One Piece as comparative forms of animation, and then we fan cast characters from Simpsons as characters in One Piece. I'm Luke, he, him, sometimes they, them, and I'm joined by my wonderful, beautiful, and transcendent co-host, Janine.
I can be all three of those because I'm a multitasker. Hi, everybody. My name is Janine Juliet. My pronouns are she, they, and guess what about the third thing? I don't
You're
have
a multitasker.
Okay, fine. There. That's my third thing for today. I'm a multitasker. I
And
can be three things.
well, technically, you're a multitasker and you can do four things because you're also
a person who's very turned on by middle-aged women.
I could do that with my eyes closed. Watch this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know lyrics to Pony. We are here for episode 61, where we're going to be covering episodes that initially ran between November 9th and December 14th of the year 2008. I had my birthday that year in college, and I was not doing well in college. We've discussed that before. How I stayed up late every night, failed a color theory class because I just didn't show up because I knew everything that we would be covering, and at one point I went to bed at 4 p.m. on Friday afternoon planning to take a nap, and then I woke up at 6 p.m. Saturday night.
Huh.
Yeah, I slept an entire day. College.
You can't just do that anymore, man.
No, because you're old now, and like you heard the stand-up bit that I did.
Yeah.
You take naps. I tried to take a nap today, and I just wasn't able to fully get into nap mode because my brain was like, hey, here's a movie idea. It's called The Brothers Robinson, and it stars Tim Robinson and Craig Robinson as themselves. and the mafia confuses them with two people known as the brothers Robinson, who are like money carrier guys who vanish because they get into a car accident and die. And so mafia guys have no idea who these two comedian actors are, hear them joking about being brothers, the brothers Robinson, and then they go after them, and it's a big old hijinks thing with two comedians who do not look like they would be brothers.
I mean, clearly you had to stay awake for that. I mean,
I didn't want to, but it was kind of like, okay, if I can't fall asleep, this is fine.
this is the next best thing.
Yeah, I mean, would you not be interested in that as like a low mid-range comedy thing with like some action scenes and like two kind of distinctive comedians?
We used to be able to just have that just show up on like Showtime or something, and it'll just be like super fast, cheap, but like you'll end up seeing it like 12 times anyway because it ends up being like kind of good.
Well, that's also kind of the problem with streaming, which is you don't really get the cheap movies that make their money in syndication anymore.
That's
Because
true.
that was the other thing. Like they were able to be shown ad nauseum on these like channels, and that was how they would make money back if they didn't do well enough in theaters or in VHS and then DVD and then Blu-ray sales.
God, I miss channels. Like there's still like channels on television now, but like a lot everything now is just binging, and it's just not really like a channel. It's just
Like there's a level where you would like to just turn the TV on and find something and be like, okay, I can either stick with this or I can move on, and it's not you have to figure out what you want to watch, or you don't have to like search for it. Um,
yeah.
we're
Like,
we're we're going onto a tangent. You know what I've been enjoying recently?
what have you been enjoying recently?
Haley's on it, and the Ghost and Molly McGee on the Disney Plus app. If you need like some low stakes cartoons, both of them solid. I enjoy a high concept sci-fi and or fantasy related show for like the youths.
Yeah. What about these Simpsons episodes that came out between November 9th and December 14th, 2008? We got a new president in that time.
Uh-huh. Barack Hussein Obama, and the Hussein is important. Remember when they made that bit on My Brother and Me?
No, I don't remember a lot of stuff right now. I'm pretty high. But let's talk about these new episodes that we
Yeah.
got to talk about.
Yeah, we had Treehouse of Horror XIX, which included Untitled Robot parody, which is a half-baked Transformers parody that ends with the Transformers taking over the Earth when they remember that they don't know why they're fighting anymore. How to Get Ahead in Advertising, which is just a bad pun because it should be How to Get a Dead in Advertising. That would be the better pun, where Homer gets a job killing celebrities so they can be used in advertising, which causes the dead celebrities to return to Earth to kill Homer, who then locks him out of heaven so he can be gay with Abraham Lincoln. And then it's The Grand Pumpkin Millhouse, which is a Charlie Brown style parody, where Millhouse accidentally summons the Grand Pumpkin, but it goes on a rampage for crimes against pumpkins, and then Lisa gets Millhouse to create Tom Turkey, who defeats the Grand Pumpkin, but then also turns evil when he realizes what people do to turkeys. It's a bad one.
Not that great. I mean, there were some funny bits.
It's no
In
trans clownomorphs.
Snow Trans Clownomorphs, yes. Um, yeah, How to Get Ahead in Advertising, the back half of that, where it's just what impressions can we get people to do of what dead people?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think they really phoned it in on Prince.
Oh yeah, especially because like why Prince is just such a weird choice to put in there because, like, he was chill. Like, he had been in Simpsons episodes as a joke before, but here it's just he's being thrown away as a celebrity. And it has nothing to really say, except it is oddly the Simpsons predict the future by saying, "Oh yeah, no, we just love to use dead celebrities to promote things."
I did like some of the stylistic choices that was in the Grand Pumpkin. Um, I did like seeing Millhouse Linus.
Mm-hmm. And I do enjoy the parents talking with a trombone. It's a solid bit. The next episode we had is Dangerous Curves, where Homer and Marge take the kids to a roadside motel where they'd come twice before, once at the start of the relationship, where a newly married Ned and Maude forced them to sleep apart, but they ended up promising their love for each other by carving their names into a tree. The second time was 5 years ago when they had an argument, ended up at a party at a rich person's house, and then they both almost ended up sleeping with other people, though neither of them was aware of that fact. And when they realize this, because they find those former partners who are now married and have their own kid, Homer and Marge have an argument. Homer goes to the tree that he had written their names in, and they end up getting into a bit of peril, but they ultimately apologize and realize they still love each other. It's it's the interesting formatted episode for this season, and I think it works.
I like the format a lot more than I like the story, is what's up with me on this one.
It's another sort of retconny thing that doesn't have a lot of new things to say or to show us. And I think there's some weird parts where how does this fit into the timeline?
I mean, it really doesn't, but at least not neatly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got some good bits. It's maybe the second best.
It's got a very sexy Maud Flanders.
Every Maud Flanders is sexy, Janine. I say this as
a person who's very turned on by middle-aged women.
Oh my god. I love how much we can be able to get that use out of that.
I can't wait to get you a t-shirt this year that just says a person very turned on by middle-aged women. The next episode, Homer and Lisa exchange crosswords, is weird because there's an opening gag or like an opening plot that feels too developed to be just like a here's our opening sub story before we get the real thing, where it's Homer is breaking up people for money, and then he's kind of asked, oh well, what would happen if Marge didn't get back together because someone made sure that you stayed broken up. And I don't think it's threaded as well into the rest of the story, which is Lisa starts doing competitive crossword puzzles, and Homer realizes that he can bet on her to win, but then he finds out that she doubts herself, and that self-doubt is going to cause her to lose the last match, so he bets against her in the last match, and then Gil cheats. Like, he full-on blatantly...
Full-on cheating, dog. Like,
yeah, like, where are those judges at? Those judges are blind. She loses. Homer makes all that money because Lisa lost. And then when she finds out where Homer got all the money, she disowns him, taking Marge's maiden name, until he leaves an apology in the New York Times crossword puzzle. And I think the apology is very well done. Like, it hits the right emotional points where Homer realizes what he did, realizes he needs to connect with her because he did hurt something that she loves, and it feels creative. in a way that I don't think we're going back to this tree and we're getting into a bit of danger really worked in the previous episode as well.
Yeah. I mean, Homer has done some bad dad stuff, particularly with Lisa in the past. And, I feel like this doesn't really add that much depth into like that kind of dynamic, but the resolution is kind of makes up for it for me.
Yeah. Like, Homer didn't try and sabotage her. He didn't try and make things worse, but he did exploit knowledge that he had. That's just good gambling, and as my good buddy Nate Silver says, who definitely doesn't have a gambling addiction that has permanently destroyed his brain and his ability to reason, gambling, you just keep playing until you win, assuming that you have infinite money, which is something that most of the best gamblers have because they never need to be worried about not having money. Oh, yeah, Nate Silver is getting ripped apart in the news currently because he wrote an overly long book where he comes out as being very pro gambling. And what the fuck, dude? Sorry, I went off on a tangent there.
It wouldn't be the first time.
Nope. It's Monday. We normally record it on Sundays where I maybe go outside, play Pokemon Go, watch TV with my wife, and I don't intake new things, and instead I've just read a bunch of news and stories and social media. It's interesting. We then have bipods and boomsticks, which is the worst episode out of these ones, and I feel like the worst one that we've had in a while. Lisa gets a MyPod and ends up racking up a massive bill for the songs that she downloaded and is forced to work for Maple. And Bart, meanwhile, meets Bashir and his family, who are Muslims who moved in from Jordan. Homer is radicalized to fear them by Mo, and he thinks that they're terrorists. And through a long series of misunderstandings that just goes on too long, ends up stopping a planned demolition and instead blows up the new Duff Factory bridge. And it's lazy storytelling. I think it would have been better if Homer was like, no, these are good people. We should believe in them. We should trust them. And kind of the issue was, oh, he's doing what Bart had to do, but well, Bart had an easier time standing up for the Bin Laden family. Like, he has a harder time because there's more expectations as an adult, but ultimately it's the right thing to do. This one fucking sucked, dog.
The thing is that it's definitely a product of the 2000s because I feels like every TV sitcom had like an episode or two where it's like, we're going to stand up against intolerance by saying the most racist jokes we got.
You mean like when Dan Castellaneta, the voice of the genie in Aladdin 2 Return of Jafar, fucking shows up as the genie and does the most racist shit he can do?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me very disappointed as
a person who's very turned on by middle-aged women.
Okay, I'm not quite sure that patch is in there, but anyway, I'm not looking it up, but I can almost assuredly believe right now that the Muslim characters were not portrayed by Muslim people, because I feel like I have heard those voices on other characters before.
Let's see. Bashir is voiced by Tress MacNeille. His mom is voiced by an Iranian American actress.
Okay.
And Ahmed was voiced by Hank Azaria.
Oh, wow.
You got one of them right. But why only one?
God. Same person who does the poo.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, It you could tell that this definitely was made before Obama's America, but premiered during it, and that's very that. Huh, the fact that, as we said before early, is his name's Barack Hussein Obama, which that Hussein part during the election, up leading up the
It was based in
yeah.
Islamophobia, and it sucks. And even if you play it off as a joke, it's really a sign of, hey, pointing out these intolerant fears does not actually fix anything with the people who are being told, or for the people who you are being told need to be feared.
Yeah, and also showing practically zero consequence for any of the stuff that happens, as if all of this hateful stuff is just easily shrugged off.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if they had just made the final line, and once again, while we're afraid of Muslim people, this damage was actually caused by a white domestic terrorist.
Damn.
Yeah, dog. And then we have the Burns and the Bees, where Mr. Burns wins a basketball team and wants to be loved like Mark Cuban is, and goes to build a new stadium for the team, but this displaces the greenhouse where Lisa was raising bees. So Homer and Mo Africanize the bees, and then they take over the new arena. Weirdly, this is one that last year, when they had a list of Simpsons Christmas episodes, it was listed among them, which is why I had seen this episode previously.
This sucks, dog.
You don't like the burn? Okay, I do not like that they had actual Mark Cuban, actual Jeff Bezos, like actual what's his name, Facebook shitty man.
I
Like,
mean,
those cameos are generally bad. I feel like Mark Cuban maybe gets a slight pass because he's at least self-deprecating. But yeah. I stand with the bees.
even then with the bees, like, I don't know. I feel I feel Mr. Burns works best when you use him sparingly, and so much focus on Burns is just grating a little bit. Um,
Interesting.
and also, like, it's such a weird point that, like, Africanized bees at this point in public consciousness was not as big as it was in like 10 years before.
Mm-hmm.
And that, yeah, it was terrible that happened, and yeah, it was terrible that, like, it feels like, who got really the best out of this?
The bees.
I
We
guess
need to build them stadiums, Janine.
I guess save
Cops' guns can't stop them, Janine.
save the bees, make them
Mm-hmm.
killer bees, and have those bees kill billionaires.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully.
Yeah. New characters that we have include Snooze, Three Way, Melody, Sex Toy, Bestimus Mucho, Rip Taylor, Will Shorts, Steve Mobs, the Genie from Aladdin, Jeff Bezos, Ned's Car Transmorpher, Buzz Cola with Lemon, Millhouse Linus, Wicked Lisa, cartoon or crossword bartender, Paul Martin Luther King, Disco Mouse Girls, and many others. The mall Martin Luther King who you can sit on his lap was a dumb bit that I appreciated.
I feel like there were some jokes in this, and a couple of gay jokes inside of the Homer and Lisa exchange crosswords
Mhm.
that, like, it really feels like the writing is a little bit better, maybe a little bit more diverse now.
Mhm.
I want to start checking that up because, like, I'm just feeling a shift in the writing, and it's, it's got some. This could be like a rough patch of episodes. I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm starting to get interested in this production of Simpsons episodes. This is what happens when you watch too many episodes of The Simpsons. It's a gateway drug for learning more about The Simpsons.
And anime production and the roles that showrunners play. Well, that now brings us to episodes 376 through 381 of One Piece. These titles include Kuma's Nikyu Nikyu power that deflects everything.
Everything?
Everything.
My crewmate's pain is my pain. Zoro fights, prepared to die.
Promise on a long day ago, the pirate song in a tiny whale.
Brook's past. Sad farewell to the cheerful crew.
Binks Sake, the song that connects the past and the present.
A new crewmate, the musician, humming Brook.
As Kuma threatens the survivors of Thriller Bark, the Straw Hats attempt to stop him, but by using the power of his pawpaw fruit, Kuma is ultimately undaunted. What?
Oh, just the pause. It's I know they're killing people right now, but they're so adorable.
Mm-hmm. He got toe beans, murderous toe beans. That's our title episode. That's our episode title, Murderous Toe Beans.
Murderous toe beans.
Kuma is ultimately undaunted and begins to gather energy that will destroy everyone in a single blast. And he offers the survivors a choice. If he is allowed to kill the unconscious Luffy, he will let the rest of them live, which they refuse. He releases the bomb and it blasts the survivors away. When he goes to get Luffy, though, Zoro still stands and attacks him, and in response, Kuma shoots an energy cannon blast from his mouth because he is a cyborg known as a pacifista who was created by Dr. Vegapunk, a scientist said to have technology that is 500 years ahead of the rest of the world. Janine, we met Dr. Vegapunk in the manga last year.
Holy shit. Okay. So that's another thing I gotta put a very long pin in. Wano and Vegapunk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Vegapunk is it's funny seeing the like preview image that they had because there's just like a few seconds where it's like I was created by Dr. Vegapunk and you see him behind, and when you know what his actual design is like, it's like yeah, Oda didn't have that fully nailed down yet. Yeah, it's a Vegapunk watch.
Dun, 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 dun.
We'll be here a while.
Mm-hmm. Zoro and Sanji both offer themselves in Luffy's place to try and protect his dream, but Zoro ultimately knocks Sanji out. That way he can sacrifice himself. Kuma tells Zoro that he'll need to take all of Luffy's pain, which he accepts, and we see him pull a small portion of that pain out of Luffy and put it into Zoro, and that alone almost kills him, but he refuses to back down. Yeah, like he's coughing up blood and stuff. And so the pair walk to the woods. Kuma acknowledges that Luffy inspires loyalty like his father, Dragon. Hey, they know each other. That's weird, isn't that, Janine?
That's very weird. It's how would he know? Like,
we finally got Kuma's backstory this year, Janine.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
All right, that's another one I gotta put a pin in. Oh my god.
Wait.
I am glad to know that there is payoff though, but like
Oh,
damn.
it is going to fuck you up. But you know what the good news is, Janine?
What's that?
I got plenty of pins.
Okay.
I took down my role playing game conspiracy board this last weekend because it was like, oh, that ended before COVID started, and I don't think we're getting back together.
Oh.
It happens. So, Luffy wakes up at full energy along with the other survivors. Sanji then finds where Zoro had left his sword and goes looking for him and finds him barely alive. And he asks him what happened, and Zoro tells him nothing happened. Which is, I believe that was one of the top moments, one of the top 10 moments that fans voted on at the One Piece celebration this year.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Like, it is a badass moment.
It is pretty badass.
Mm-hmm. But, like, also, do you have that friend who you would take all of their pain for?
Yeah, it's you.
Aw. Same, dog.
Aw.
Aw. Meanwhile, Absalom, Hiruluk, and Moria escape Thriller Bark, and they discuss how Blackbeard is now one of the warlords for capturing Ace, who is set to be executed at Impel Down, which might be disrupted if Whitebeard shows up. Janine.
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun. Rawr.
It's a Ace's execution at Impel Down that might be disrupted if Whitebeard shows up. Watch.
Oh, wait. Okay. Hand me the pins.
Yeah. Oda. Oh, Oda's doing the work. Meanwhile, Captain Lola and her crew, the Rolling Pirates, take time to recover with the other survivors. They are happy to find food and that Treasure has moved on to the Straw Hat ship. Luffy claims an armband that Nami thinks is just costume jewelry. And Janine, guess
Yeah?
what?
What's up?
Huh? Who? This well-mannered snake?
It's some bullshit.
Dun, 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 dun. Rawr.
It's a Luffy's armband that Nami thinks is costume jewelry. Watch.
Jesus Christ.
This
This is the end of an arc, though. Why are we setting so much stuff up?
Janine, because you gotta keep telling stories.
I mean, I get it, but usually by now I have a nice and fuzzy filler to help me come down from all of that. I mean,
don't worry, next week is non-canon filler.
oh hell yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's also, hey, let's just get everyone into swimsuits.
A beach episode?
It is a resort episode. So technically a beach episode.
Oh, like hot springs?
No. A weird water park that also seems to be built on an offshore platform.
Huh, okay.
The party is going to go full D&D.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm. Lola calls Nami Namizo for a reason that she can't understand, and Nami realizes that Captain Lola was the shadow owner for Lola and shares some treasure with her.
It's fucking awesome. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Shadow memories.
Mm-hmm.
They may not mean anything to Lola, but the fact that that there's that still connection for Nami, despite the fact that Lola's using her dead name.
Mm-hmm. Chopper, meanwhile, is taking care of Zoro, and the Risky brothers go to share what happened, but Sanji stops them. They tell Sanji what happened, and he tells them to keep quiet, though Robin secretly listens in. As everyone parties, Brook is playing Everyone parties as Brook is playing the piano, and Sanji comments on it, and Brook's like, yeah, I can play just about anything. He also reveals that he saw everything that went on with Sanji and Zoro as well. Brook then starts playing this year's Summer Jam. Binks' brew and the crews celebrate, and Luffy comments that he grew up hearing Shanks' crew play it. And if you watch the live-action One Piece series, Janine, you can also hear the song. Uh-huh. Luffy offers to let Brook join the crew, but Brook turns him down. But then Luffy's like, hey, I know all about Laboon. And he tells Brook that Laboon is still waiting for him. And Brook is overwhelmed and is happy to hear that his friend is doing well. And he reminisces about how the Rumbar Pirates used to play music for Laboon when he was upset, as he had followed them. And we get some flashbacks of, like, Brook waking up the crew with music, and how when they had noticed that Laboon was following them, they thought that he was cute, so they fed him. And Laboon helped the crew when he could, but eventually, though, as they got close to the Grand Line, they were worried that they couldn't protect Laboon, so Brook asked him to stay behind, and he refused to leave them behind, so they decided to try and hide, but it didn't help. But after a week of ignoring him, they thought he was gone for sure, and they reached the lighthouse at the entrance to the Grand Line. That's where they met Crocus after they passed Reverse Mountain, and while they were taking some time to return the ship, they found Laboon had also followed them to the other side, and he had picked up some scars at that point. But they decided to celebrate with their friend, and he played Binks' brew again. Brook asked Laboon to stay behind again because of all the dangers they were going to face and how much they loved him. And Captain Yorkie made a promise that they would return as fast as they could in 2 to 3 years. And they said their goodbyes, but 3 years in, the ship had been caught in the Florian Triangle, and Brook had become a skeleton stuck alone on the ship. During those years, the crew had faced the dangers of the Grand Line, with Yorkie even earning a bounty. Eventually, though, a virus started to spread on the ship. Yorkie left with the infected crew to look for a cure by traveling through the Calm Belt, hoping that they might have something happen. And he asked Brook to give the crew hope, and Brook played Binks' brew for them one last time. Brook then became the acting captain of the crew, earning himself a bounty. And that is where we get one of the most sad and emotional scenes of One Piece. When Brook pulls out a tone dial where he recorded the last performance of the crew for Laboon. Because Brook and the crew had had their final battle, they were all dying, and so they decided that they would record it. That way Brook could come back and share that recording. And so they all play Binks' brew as the pirates start to die off one by one until Brook himself died. And meanwhile, like, in the present, all of these pirates of the next generations are partying and celebrating that they have survived their own horrifying ordeal in the place where Brook's crew got lost and died. Brook then prepares to put the tone dial away since he is finally around other people for the first time in 50 years, and he pledges himself to the Straw Hat Pirates, tells them about his bounty, and then Frankie, Usopp, and Chopper put together a grave for his friends on the ruins of Thriller Bark, which was made from soil from the West Blue, which is where he and his crew came from. Frankie repairs Brook's old ship and gives it to Lola's crew. Sanji and Brook are excited about mermaids, and we hear that their looks are comparable to the pirate empress Boa Hancock, according to one of the Risky Brothers and Janine. You know what that is?
What's that?
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
It's a pirate empress Boa Hancock. Watch.
Okay, I'm losing track of these pins really fast, but I'm putting them up as fast as they're coming out.
Phrasing. Lola and her crew were coming from the New World and had already passed through. And Lola gives Nami a Vivre card. And that's also where we find out that Lola's mom is also a great pirate. And Janine, you know what that is?
What's that?
Dun, 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 dun. Rawr.
It's a Lola's mom is also a great pirate watch.
I should really start expecting these more often.
And you know why you're going to be excited about her?
Why's that?
A person who's very turned on by middle-aged women.
Okay, that one tricked me.
uh,
I mean, I should have seen that one coming.
you should have seen him coming. Lola also explains the Vivre card, which points in the direction of the person tied to the card. Lola writes a note on it and tells Nami that if she ever meets her mother, to ask her to say that Lola is doing well. Luffy remembers that he got a Vivre card from Ace, which currently seems to be burning, which is not a great sign because it usually means that the life force of the creator is in danger. And Lola warns that it means that Ace's life is in danger. The Straw Hats, though, depart, and Luffy's like, yeah, I'm not going to save Ace, because Ace wouldn't want me to do that. We're rivals, and yeah, we'll never have to worry about that again.
We're gonna worry about that again, aren't we?
Dun, 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 dun. Rawr.
Oh my god.
No, we're never going to have to worry about that again, Janine. You heard what I said.
Okay.
All right, yeah. So a lot of stuff to look forward to. I also posted this on social media and the Discord, and also if you follow my Patreon, we are 2 episodes away, 2 episodes after this one, from the largest number of characters we are going to be covering in a single episode, as far as I know, for a while, because we are getting to Salaoti, and that is going to be 35 characters. That's going to be the worst generation. If you back the Patreon that I have that is under my name, Lukeher, Lekeherr, you can pick one of the characters from the list to be made public, because 35 characters, a lot of 5-star and 4-star characters are going to be in there. We're going to be having a real time, Janine. I'm just putting that out there because if you want to back the show, that is a great way, because I like to pay Mike a good amount, and podcasts cost money to produce. But we have 7 characters to match for this week. Are you ready, Janine?
Yes.
Up first, we have Mizuda Maraisuke, who, along with his brother Masuda Mawara Tosuki, they are members of Brook's old crew. My Rodrigo style picks were Merle Regal and Will Shorts, the New York Times crossword editors that we saw in this one. My throwbacks were the Handsome Bachelor's brothers, and then I also put on Jewish Rod and Todd from Flanders' Dream / Nightmare about him going Hollywood. Who do you got?
I got, let's see here. My Rodrigo style is George Clooney
Mm-hmm.
and Bride Abraham Lincoln.
Interesting.
And my other picks I have here are Devin and Quenley Woosterfield.
From the Bart gets a twin and swaps places, and okay. I've been trying to push the Handsome Bachelors for some time, but something about Jewish Rod and Todd kind of speak to me here.
I did pop for that. That did get me to laugh. I got, Jewish Rod and Todd are good by me.
All right. Good boys, you can bring them home. Up next, we have Coda and Janine.
Yes.
I am sorry about these weird ones, because if y'all read the manga but don't watch the anime, what a choice you make. The anime did not adapt the Ace chapter cover series where he is saved by a farmer girl who asks him to deliver a letter to a marine ship. He dresses up like a marine, goes onto the ship, finds out that everybody is upset about the very bitter coffee. He saves the ship when it catches on fire somehow, delivers the letter, and then it turns out that Moda, who is Koda's daughter, is like, hey, I miss my family. I love you. And then they're like, oh, well, hey, this is a farm. This has milk. This would make our coffee not bitter. And everyone goes away happy. Like, that's mostly what happens. But, yeah, 4 of the characters here come from that and are only featured on a newspaper that Crocus is reading. And then the 5th comes from a single chapter page at this point where it is a young girl who will get to her. But, Janine, did you read the chapter?
No.
Okay. Well, I am sorry that this is a weird one for you.
It is. I basically kind of guessed what the vibe was on it.
Mm-hmm. Well, who do you have for Coda?
I have, for my Rodrigo style, Sylvia.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to hold off on the other one because I got to tell it in the package deal.
Package deal with Moda or Kyuji?
Both of them. I did a 3 for Coda, Moda, and Kyuji. Do you want
I'm
me to drop
willing to listen. I'm willing to listen to all 3 of them.
Okay. For Coda, we got Mrs. Zorker. Kyuji's Mr. Zorker, and Moda, that's right, we got Uter.
Okay.
Already mentally knocking that down. For Moda, I also have Ruthie and Lisa Sally, and Kyuji I have as Alberto as the Rodrigo on that one.
Sylvia and fuck, I forgot his name. Alberto. I just wrote Albert, and it's like, or no, I wrote Alberton. Sylvia and Alberto were the almost hookups that Homer and Marge had, and Ruthie is their daughter.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. My Rodrigo style for Coda was Isla, who is like the bartender that we briefly see. I had Beatrice as my dangerous curves, and QG, I had the crossword bartender. But what I thought would have been a better... I didn't like my Moda pick there. But then for the throwbacks, I had New Hampshire Martha and New Hampshire Man for Coda and QG, and then Mary Spuckler for Moda. And then also for Coda, I had Homer's cousin's wife and Homer's cousin for QG, and then I had for Moda as another option Greta Wolfcastle, and another option for QG was Farmer Billy. I feel like Sylvie, Ruthie, and Alberto are like a really good pick. Also, King Atticus came back with a suggestion, and I'm working on one screen right now. Oh no, I have hidden... There we go. We got one suggestion from King Atticus, which was Cookie Kwan for Moda, which I don't think really fits at all.
I feel like that I would definitely want to save Cookie Kwan for someone who's at least
Asian coded.
Well, I was gonna say 4 stars because I feel like while she's not like a prominent background character, she does show up in like powerful roles as a background character.
Mm-hmm. Janine, I really like Sylvie, Ruthie, and Alberto. I think it's a great pick. It's a great Rodrigo style pick. I'm going to let you get all 3 of those.
Hell yeah. Love it.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I recognize game. My brain, I watched everything too far apart. So, we then have Comiel, who is part of the Marines. He leads that ship. My Rodrigo style is Rip Taylor, who is not the guy who I always think of, which is Rip Torn. An intergalactic kegger. My throwback was Galactic Chairman. I also had on Dean Bitterman, because the coffee is too bitter, and Captain Crunch, because it stays crunchy even in milk. Who do you have, Janine?
I have Jeff Bezos and Orson Welles.
King Atticus suggested Richard Branson. I want to push for Captain Crunch.
But that is a captain. Like
Or Dean Bitterman.
Dean Bitterman. Now, knowing about the whole coffee thing, I do feel Bitterman definitely does hit that a little bit better. But
Okay.
can I interest you in Orson Welles? It's voiced by Maurice LaMarche.
We're going to have other opportunities where he would be great. You think that we don't end up with like a weird newscaster or a man with a handsome face and a beautiful voice? Like, young Orson Welles is hot.
Yeah, he could get it.
Mm-hmm. Dean Bitterman, then?
Dean Bitterman.
All right. And then last we have Alice, who... do you want to guess what Alice's deal is?
God, I cannot think of it. I mean, it's just, she looks kind of generic, to be honest.
So you know how Iceberg's former secretary Khalifa turned out to be part of a CIA-type secret covert intelligence operation?
Yes.
He needed to hire a new secretary and was like, hey, this 8-year-old girl is a genius, so I'm going to hire her.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So, my Rodrigo style was Lisa Sally. That's Lisa as Sally from the Peanuts. My throwback was Angelica Button. And then I had to put on Betsy the Dolphin, because that was Lisa's stuffed dolphin at the Build-A-Bear type shop, where she had to secretly make it a girl dolphin because of sexist trends or whatever. Who do you have for Alice?
I have as my Rodrigo style B. Millhouse Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
And for my throwback, I went really back and swung for the fences with Lizard Queen Lisa.
Wonderful.
I do like Elisa for this, especially after finding out that she's 8, because I think Lisa is canonically 8 years old.
Mm-hmm. We're going to have weird uses. I'd be more on the side of Lisa Sally.
Because you're telling me that I'm going to need to save the bees and also a lizard queen for the future of this podcast.
Yes.
I would get more points if this fucking anime wasn't so weird sometimes.
I mean, it's also weird that Moda and Komil have 3 stars and everyone else has 1 star. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that's very weird. That makes me feel like there's more to that than there is to that.
Well, I mean, Komil is a named member of the Marines who is a vice admiral later on in the series, and Moda, when she was a young girl, her father went and took her to the downtown. That's where she saw the old Black Parade, or whatever that song is.
Oh, okay.
When I was a young man, my father took me to go and see the YMCA. He said, young man, you can stay here. Something, something, something. Yeah. Now. It's fun to stay at the Black Parade. Black Parade. My wife kind of hates me because sometimes I can just do something that's dumb like that, and it'll get infected in her head for like days. Because I've got a cult of personality. But yeah, you good with Lisa Sally?
I'm good with Lisa Sally.
All right. So our Maraesuki and Maraetosuki are Jewish Rod and Todd. Our Coda is Sylvia. Our Moda is Ruthie. Our Kyuji is Alberto. Our Comiel is Dean Bitterman. And our Alice is Lisa Sally. Janine,
Yes.
next week, we don't have a new episode, but in 2 weeks, on our next episode, we're going to have a guest.
Oh, yeah?
Uh-huh. We should have Jeffrey Golden on, who has made a lot of very silly, fun things that I have enjoyed, including the Wet Hot American Summer RPG.
What?
Mm-hmm. And so it should be good exposing him to One Piece for the first time. And then 2 weeks after that, we get back to canonical One Piece, and you know what we're going to be dealing with, Janine?
What are we gonna deal with now?
Slaves!
Wait, that's not great.
And mermaids!
Well, that is pretty good, though.
And also a character is going to return who you did not see coming. And also, I'm going to have a mystery that you're going to have to solve. And I'm excited for it.
I just got there are too many goddamn pins in this one.
Wait, is that voodoo doll that I sent you of me?
What was I supposed to put the pins in?
That.
Okay. Well, I've just been putting it in my leg.
Sure.
How do we end the podcast?
Janine, where can people find you online?
They could be able to find me online on Twitter and Blue Sky at Janine Juliet, and sometimes I post some selfies at Janine is Dope on Instagram. Like my stuff already. Luke, where can people like your stuff online?
I mainly just post to Blue Sky at koltreg.bisky.whatever. That's KOLTREG. Though I have 2 conventions coming up in the month of September. I'll be at the Middletown Comic Expo, and then Cartoon Crossroads Columbus, dropping a bunch of new books. Some of those books will be released for free on my Patreon. And also, like I said earlier, if you back the Patreon in the next few weeks, you will get to pick an additional public character for public casting. Someone already donated $2, and now Jewelry Bonnie is going to be an optional character. I'm excited for Janine to make choices about Jewelry Bonnie. Also, shout out to Mike Padden, our lovely, wonderful, and handsome, talented comic artist, cover artist for the show. Keep an eye on the Animators Union contract negotiations, because if you love animation, you should also love making sure that people who make it are able to make a living, have adequate health care, and are able to be given contingencies, as the media empire really just says, hey, us people who have never made anything valuable with our lives think that you should get less money, and we're just going to have AI do everything. And honestly, fuck that. DohMance Dawn updates every other week. You can find more about us at dohmancedawn.com. If you leave comments on YouTube, and you somehow find out what characters are open for casting, I guess you are fine to suggest characters on YouTube, because we have had one person who has been going through and leaving comments on that. And yeah, that wraps us up for now. Join our Discord, back the Patreon, and I will see you with our guest in 2 weeks as we're going to Spa Island.
Hell yeah!
Hell yeah. Peace.